Welcome everybody. I am so glad you guys could join us, especially on such a beautiful night when I know it's probably compelling to get outside. Um, my name is Tara Dinier, and I'm going to be moderating the panel tonight. I am a professor and program coordinator in the Health, Wellness, and Fitness program. And you'll see we have some of our grads here. And so I'm really honored to be moderating the virtual Meet the Grad Alumni and Industry panel for nursing, PSW, allied health, and health studies. So I want to thank the Mohawk students and recent graduates that are joining us virtually today. And I know you're going to really enjoy hearing about their career journeys and their thoughts on how, as a job seeker, you can really engage in the current market. We know that these are different times than what we're used to. So hearing from people who were sitting in your seat not all that long ago will be really valuable. So I want to just quickly introduce our panelists. And I'm going to start with Julian Bomarito. Julian graduated from Health, Wellness, and Fitness in 2016 and is currently completing a Master's of Science at the University of Guelph. And his research is focusing on how exercise and sleep affects the circadian rhythm of blood pressure. So welcome, Julian. We're so happy to have you back and all your support for the program. Emma is also a recent graduate of the program. Emma Daigle completed the program just recently in 2020, and she has joined F45 on the Stony Creek Mountain as a fitness coach and is also working as a dietary aide at the Wellington Park Care Center. And I know Emma also has a very strong background in elite athletics as well. So welcome, Emma, and thank you for joining us. Nancy is joining us from the Rec Therapy program as a graduate in 2016 and is currently working at St. Joseph's Healthcare in Hamilton. She's the creator and lead facilitator for Positive, that's spelled with P-A-W, so Positive Strides, a successful animal-assisted intervention program offered at St. Joe's. Prior to pursuing Rec Therapy, she worked as a registered massage therapist. And Evan Scarlett is joining us from the massage therapy program. He graduated in 2016 as well. He's primarily working in a spa setting, and the early stages of his massage therapy career have really exceeded Evan's expectations. During his time at Mohawk, Evan made a concerted effort to always try to uplift others in the program and has continued to do so since he graduated by assisting with orientation and examinations, OSCEs, I know that dreaded word for massage therapy. And last but certainly not least, we have Guillermo Tamanini, GT, as we affectionately grew to know him in the program. And he graduated as well in Emma's years in 2020. He joins us from Momentum Fitness, where he is working as a personal trainer and manager of 2 locations. So a big thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time today to share experiences. And we look really forward to hearing more about your career paths and lessons you have learned along the way. For the people that have joined us to listen to our amazing panelists, we encourage you to use the chat bar throughout if you have a question that comes up. My colleague Pearl will be monitoring that, and we will open the floor at the end for about 10 minutes for any Q&A, and we'll start by addressing some of the questions in that chat bar. So go ahead, type them as we go, but I'm going to kickstart by, I know I shared with you the background, but I'm going to open it up to the panel. Does someone want to share about their career path and what that's been like since they've graduated?
I don't mind starting it off.
Thanks, Julian.
Yeah, so after graduating Health, Wellness, Fitness, actually, Tara got me an opportunity to get a job at a gym as a personal trainer. She had a connection in where was it? The location, I forget now. I know it's called Grand Personal Training. Where is it?
In Caledonia with Eric Dowling.
Yeah, in Caledonia, yeah. And it was me and the owner. His name was Eric. He's a great guy. Had 1 year of experience learning from him, and it was a great experience, but I found it really wasn't for me. So after you graduate Health, Wellness, Fitness, you actually have the opportunity, if you want, to bridge into the kinesiology program at the University of Guelph-Humber, and I decided to do that. So in that time, I graduated with a kinesiology degree in Bachelor of Applied Science. And in my 4th year, I actually had the opportunity to do a research thesis. So during this time, I was thinking, should I go down the physio med school route, or am I going to be a researcher? So I actually had a placement in a hospital, and then I had my research thesis, and the hospital setting really wasn't for me. So, and I really enjoyed the research setting. So with that, my undergrad advisor actually asked me to do a master's with them. And I said, yeah, for sure, why not? And now I'm in my second semester of my master's, and I'm actually just about to start collecting data for my study.
That's great, Julian. Thank you so much for sharing. What a great trajectory you've taken to kind of find your niche in that market. Evan, do you want to share with us your massage career path?
Yeah, well, I think excuse me, I think I'm still just in a very infancy of my massage career, even though it's been 2 or 3 years now. It's still kind of developing and branching out into several different things. I just work at the Hand and Stone. It's seems like it's just going to be very spa setting, but I do get a very large variety of people that come in, different ailments and therapeutic athletic treatments. And it's just kind of been very helpful to kind of apply everything that I did learn in school in one setting. That's the career's still young, and I'm kind of hoping to still blossom from there too.
I've been in my career for 20 plus years and still feeling the same way. Like I've still got lots of room to grow and blossom. So I get that. Thanks, Evan. Nancy, what about you?
Great. I graduated back in 2016, and it was one of those things where, being a mature student, this was my second career. I was so anxious. I feel bad. Joanne and Tracy, especially Joanne, had to listen to me like, oh, when am I going to get hired? When am I going to hired? And what was so helpful, of course, is that Mohawk provided several practicum placements. And through this, I really was able to connect. And because it's like having a 4-month-long job interview. I was hired to the forensic psychiatry program because I had made a very good impression on my manager, and I had kept in touch. And so I was hired, and I worked my first year in forensics, and permanent part-time, but eventually the hours started to kind of dry because it really waxes and wanes depending on when people are taking vacation. And I remember I had 2 weeks where I had no hours, and I headed to Halifax, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up because I got all these text messages that somebody was unexpectedly pregnant, and I was able to take that maternity leave. And I've actually worked in the schizophrenia and community integration services actually since for the last almost 3.5 years, and I absolutely love it. I'm still technically permanent part-time, but it's amazing how things work out for me. And I've had so many amazing experiences and being flexible and trying different things. And it's allowed me to see, like, yes, I started off in forensics and I did enjoy that, but I've realized that my niche is actually in schizophrenia services and working with patients who, very complex and challenging, or individuals who face a lot of trauma and challenge. And so I started off in the SOC. I actually wrote the program for positive strides while I was working in the SOC. And then I launched it actually when I was working in centralized rehab, which is a non-diagnostic specific clinic. And this was amazing because I was able to get, persons who were in the forensic psychiatry program. I had outpatients. I had a lot of patients referred from the anxiety and treatment clinic. And that program has absolutely changed my career. Seeing the outcomes and the measurables that we have from a program like that. And then we wrote a practical paper. So I actually, I try to take a student, at least 1 or 2 students a year. And that student was actually one of the intensive students. Her name is Candace Herlock. So another great success story from Mohawk. And she helped me create evaluation tools. And we co-wrote it with another one of our colleagues. And we were published in the TRPR. And I'm looking forward to being able to, when we're able to have less COVID restrictions, get back to running it. But I'm also looking forward to being able to create more evidence-based and interdisciplinary. I'm really looking, because of my massage career, how can I look at incorporating healthy touch for my patients, because they often don't get touched, I don't know, there's so many things I want to do in so little time, but I think I've had a really upwards trajectory career since I graduated. And I always laugh and say that I'm a recent grad, and I realized, oh no, that's 5 years ago. That's not all that recent.
That's great. Thank you, Nancy. What, again, such an interesting path you've taken. I'm going to move it on to Emma to answer the same question.
Yeah, so for me, obviously, it was a little bit of a different experience graduating right when like the pandemic hit. So it kind of felt at the time like I didn't have any options. I didn't know where I could go or what I could do. So I decided that I wanted to apply for school. Originally, I had wanted to work for a year and then look into applying back for school again. But I ended up getting accepted back into the program at Sheridan for athletic therapy, but that wasn't starting into the fall. So I had all this time from March to September to figure out what I wanted to do. So I kind of just started looking around and seeing what was out there that could maybe be in my wheelhouse. So that's how I ended up finding the position at a long-term care home as a dietary aide. It was a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but I honestly have found it really rewarding, and I've been able to apply a lot of the things that I learned in the health, wellness, fitness program to that position. And it's not necessarily where I thought I would end up at first, but it's been really rewarding. And then, of course, finally, when they were able to do, when we were able to get registered again as personal trainers to get certified, I was able to do that in October. And then that's when I was able to finally become a personal trainer as well at F45.
That's great. Thank you, Emma. And we know that's been, an up and down thing with all the closures and openings and closures. And GT, I'm going to turn it over to you for the same question.
So for me, as Nancy said, Mohawk gave me like a lot of opportunities to do my internship, my placement. So I moved to Canada. I'm from Brazil, so I moved to Canada to study at Mohawk. And in 2019, I got an internship with the Ford soccer team. So I started as intern, and right on 2020, I got the strength and conditioning coach position, but also I got a personal training position at Momentum Fitness. So, and then 2020, we already know what happened. So I got benched because of the club. The Forge went to Nova Scotia, PEI to play the championship and everything. Because of Momentum, that I didn't travel with them. It's only me and my wife here, so I opt not to travel and do the work from here, because I wasn't only the strength and conditioning, but I also was the GPS guy. So I did everything remotely. So it was very fun to work with data, Excel sheets, and everything. And right after the first lockdown, I was recently graduated. I needed fix a job because of my PGWP, which is a post-graduation work permit. So I needed a fix a job, and the soccer team was just a point mark. Nobody knew what is going to happen with 2020, even very complicated 2021. We didn't know what is going to happen. So my contract there ended on December, and I need to get my PGWP. I need at least 1 year, like full time. So I offered Momentum owner. I offered him like what I can do, and I know that you need someone to help you. And I don't know what it was. It just happened. He offered me the managing position, and I took it. So I left the soccer team because being a manager, it's a more steady, and I can be with Momentum for the entire year. And this way, I'm going to be able to pursue my goal, that it's to have my PR, so my permanent residency. So that's it.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know GT has also spoken for the college on an alumni, an international panel to share his experience with that as well. And I think we're in the health studies virtual session, and I think it's so important, if anything, this year has highlighted how valuable we are as part of this healthcare system, and self-care and knowing how to take care of ourselves, but both before getting ill and after. So there's certainly no shortage of a need for people with our expertise. I'm going to direct my next few questions at a specific person. That way we can get through as many as possible, but if any of the other panelists want to add on when they're finished, please feel free to jump in. So my next question is for Evan. Evan, can you share with us some of the soft skills in your profession that went above and beyond the technical training that you think have helped you succeed?
So I think sort of as a massage therapist, it's kind of essential. Just a lot of it is soft skills, right? There is the hands-on component too, but there's a lot of people who come in there and, it is about listening, and it is about understanding what they need inside the treatment room, being able to communicate and understand what someone's looking for, what their concerns are, and it might just be more than my neck hurts, right? It's funny a lot of times where someone will come in and just kind of unload on you everything else that's going on in their life, and being able to kind of dissociate enough where you're kind of not getting bogged down in something that might be traumatic and kind of affects you as well, but to show empathy and listening, and that you care. Because a lot of this is more than just a touch in the profession. And that's been, I think a skill that it takes a lot to develop. I think especially when we're doing student clinics, that might be the first time you're hearing a lot of these things, and, kind of getting into a more professional world. You're going to be hearing a lot more of these things from people, but it's important not only in treatment, but assessment and moving forward too, because people are, especially right now, stressed out, and they come here to not only relax, but to release, right? So.
That's great. Thank you. What a gift it is to be able to be the person that people can get that stress relief from, but it can be hard on us too. So kind of understanding those skills that we need to have. Do any panelists want to add on to what Evan had to say, maybe specific to your sector?
I don't mind adding something onto that, actually.
Thanks, Julian.
So specifically with school and academia, you kind of really have to teach yourself how to learn. So it's called metacognition, or the ability to learn how to learn. So you kind of get that through more reps and actually trying to change your study habits, change like timings of studying and whatnot. And then you eventually just kind of find that you might actually remember more things than you think you could, just by being really cognitive about your study habits and whatnot. And then you actually retain a lot of information that way. I think that's really kind of helped me the most, just learning how to learn.
That's such a great point. And again, another ongoing life skill, right? Continuing to learn how to learn. I'm going to move on to another question, and I'm going to address this one to GT. GT, what additional education and training have you pursued throughout your career?
So, as I already told, I'm from Brazil, and in Brazil I was a physiotherapist for 10 years. So I graduated in Brazil in 2009. And then I left everything behind and moved to Canada to pursue my physio career here. So right now I'm in the middle of the process to take my license here. So I also have a master's in science in rehabilitation. So I have 2 post-graduations in orthopedics and sports injuries. So I think a little bit, not that much, but it's a little bit.
That's great. Thank you. Does anyone want to add on to any additional education they found has been valuable in their career path?
I'm happy to take that one. I'm actually, as I mentioned, I was previously a registered massage therapist for 15 years. On top of that, I'm also, it's funny, there's a lot of health and or fitness. I was a level 1 CrossFit trainer for 6 years, and On top of that, I have taken several additional courses I've taken dialectical behavioral therapy. I've gone on to take, further education that comes to facilitation techniques. Because really as a recreation therapist, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, and maybe not necessarily a master of one, and really being able to connect with my patients and be able to facilitate some great programs has my fitness and wellness background has really complemented my current ability, and especially being able to scale and modify and make exercise accessible to patients in the mental health and addictions program. Because once again, yes, that's the primary reason for being there, but often our patients have multiple comorbidities of other things that they need to have worked on, and being able to provide safe and accessible exercise has been huge.
That's great. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, I think there's just so many overlaps and parallels between all three career areas or program areas. I'm going to move on to my next question. Emma, I'm going to direct this one to you. Emma, can you share any coming trends that you see in the sector that you think new graduates should be aware of? And you kind of bridge two sectors, that nutrition sector and also the fitness sector, so you can address it for either.
So I would say definitely for the fitness sector, obviously a big trend right now is virtual training. It's something that I honestly never thought would be a trend, because for us, obviously training is so personal, and you kind of want to be there to be able to see them in person and see how they're moving, what they need from you. And it's just so personal training. So definitely the virtual training has been a new thing that has been something that I've had to get used to personally, and just I think the whole industry has had to get used to and adjust to as well. Being able to find that connection or help the client get what they want out of it through a virtual platform, like for example, Zoom, like we're on now. And then I guess just in general, I'd say being able to look outside what you necessarily don't think is in your wheelhouse. Like I said, I didn't think that long-term care was something that could be in my skill set, but by pushing myself and looking outside of the box, I was able to find something else that I was able to enjoy and pursue.
That's great. Thanks, Emma. And I think this is such an important question, looking at trends, that maybe I'll move it along and ask the other two program areas if they want to add on. So Evan, do you want to add anything about trends in the massage therapy sector?
Well, I don't know so much about trends, but I think kind of as we're adapting to a lot of things and people are adapting to a different lifestyle, a lot of what I'm seeing are people who have been working from home and thus feeling the consequences of working from home, coming in to see, yeah, exactly. So them coming in to see me may be one of the only times they get out of the house. And like I said, they're stressed. They've been on the computer for 8-12 hours a day, maybe even more. So I don't know if this is going to be something that sticks for people going forward who are able to kind of work through these kind of platforms. But, kind of that tech neck, as they call it, like that seems to be something that's growing more and more, at least that I'm seeing in practice.
I hear you. I'm feeling it now as I sit here in my 6th hour of Zoom meetings. So yes, thank you for that. Nancy, anything that you're noticing in your sector, trends?
Well, because I work in mental health and addictions, the pandemic has certainly created a lot of wave of change in the long-term care sector. And so I don't know if it's going to be indirect in a sense of hopefully maybe creation of more jobs, recognition of what we do, the quality of life aspect. We've worked very hard, because I actually sit on the board of directors for Therapeutic Recreation Ontario, to advocate for better quality of care for our seniors. As far as the mental health addiction, I'd like to see an increase in technology, because I often find, at least working in schizophrenia services, that my older patients are not so, they're basically not using technology. I have younger patients who are hospitalized. It's completely different. So I'm actually looking at how I can incorporate video games and gaming. So this is something it's definitely out of my comfort zone. But luckily I have people around me who can help me with it. So I'm gonna say an increase in use with technology, because that's the way of the world. And the pandemic has really shown that if you don't have access to technology, things are very inaccessible at the moment.
Thank you for that. And, you know, I think if you look at the culmination of those answers, how cool is it that there's a trend between high tech, but as Evan brought into the mix, that high touch, we still don't want to lose that high touch part that's so valuable to people. We're running close to the end of our time. I have 2 questions left, so I'm going to direct my next question to GT, and that is, what resources, and I know you shared a great story of how you just went in and introduced yourself to Tyler at Momentum, but what are some resources new graduates could use to find work in their field? People, places, where can they turn to?
For me, everyone is a potential client, especially right now with online training. It doesn't matter if you're in the same city, if on the same region, everyone is a potential client. Instagram, it's a very popular thing right now. You can grab a lot, you can have a lot of clients on Instagram. But for me, I think the most important thing is to have initiative, to have a little bit of commitment. So it doesn't matter where you're gonna work, where you're gonna search for work. If you have this kind of quality, like initiative, search for it, be available for everything that it's gonna happen. 2020 is a very good year for us to learn, to understand what happened, because in one day we were doing our normal lives, but on the next second we were just stuck at home. So what we are gonna do, what we have to do. So I have to come, people have to work, and you have work everywhere, especially as a personal trainer. Online training, it's adaptable. You can do like here as with a Zoom. If you have Apple, you have a FaceTime, WhatsApp. I'm literally training a friend from Brazil, so it works. It works. It's just to be available for every opportunity, every client that you see. Everyone that you have a contact, it's a potential client. So be available. That's for me, that's one of the most important things.
That's great. And I think, you know, despite borders being closed, we've become maybe more connected than ever in a totally different way. This last question is so important that I do want to make sure we hear from everyone. So I'm going to direct the question to you individually, but if you could answer it in either one word or one sentence, can you share with us? And I'm going to start with Julian, and then Emma, you'll be next. So Julian, what is one piece of advice or knowledge, again, in one word or one sentence, that you wish you had known at the start of your career?
One sentence, eh? For me, there's nothing really. Like if there's one thing I would say, is just go at your own pace. That's kind of what I've been doing, and it's kind of been working out for me.
That's great. Thank you. Emma, what would be your one piece of advice you wish you knew or knowledge?
For me, it's don't be afraid to make mistakes and take those chances.
Excellent. Thank you. Nancy.
I was going to say, be open to all possibilities and don't settle.
Excellent. I feel like we should be writing these down. They're like quotable quotes. Evan.
I'd just say relax. This is a stressful job where, you know, you've got someone's allowing you to put hands on them basically, and it is a lot of responsibility, but you know what you know, you got the knowledge, just relax and apply what you know.
Excellent. And GT to round it out.
I would say everything that everyone already said. Be smart, be calm. Everything is there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not because you're graduating on a pandemic that you're gonna be like without a job or anything. It's gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be fine.
That's great. Thank you. I'm going to throw one more thing into the mix, but while I do, if you have questions for the panelists, I'm going to encourage you again to add them into the chat bar. But I know you're here to hear the panelists, but I'm going to share my piece of advice as well, which I've had to change. My advice used to be, and I've shared this with the students, shake the hand of everyone you meet, because you never know when that person could become a valuable connection. But we can't shake hands anymore. So virtually high five or connect with, I mean, you just don't want to pass up any opportunity, because you don't know who that person is going to be that can open up a door for you. So we have come to the end of the time. We're 1 minute over. So I'm just going to add my quick 2 cents, and then I'm going to close things up. One of the greatest joys of my job is being able to get to know and love students. And it's so sad when they graduate and then they kind of go on and you don't always get a chance to stay in touch. So what a great opportunity this has been to reconnect with some students that are so near and dear to my heart. They know that I am very passionate about what I do. So a huge thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time today. We know everyone's so busy to share your experiences with the students. So stay in touch. You're so involved with the program. I know I'll see all for the health, wellness, and fitness students. I know I'll see you all next week at another big event we're having, but thank you so much. Pearl, is there anything else we need to add before we wrap this up?
Oh, that's so great. And I just want to thank you, Tara, for your time as well and moderating the panel and doing a great job of involving all of our panelists. What a great conversation. And thank you again for attending. We look forward to you heading over to the employer networking booths. Thanks again, everyone.